in this economy. I still pick my nose, just I deeply don't care. Good morning. Fremde, étranger, stranger, bienvenue, welcome. If you haven't been to this channel before, this is going to be a really random video, but today I'm going to be doing a Q&A. My name's Lena, I'm a YouTuber and a poet, and I also do loads of freelance stuff. I've taken on so much behind the scenes. I'll level with you guys, I overestimated my abilities, which is usually a good thing, but in this instance means that there's less time available for everything. I've also just moved, so we're kind of living off camping chairs at the moment, and everything's just a little bit hectic. I'm also trying to finish the final stages of my poetry collection and plan a tour, so it's all happening. And I thought today I would just get up early before I start work TM, get a coffee, sit in the garden and do a little Q&A. I really love watching Q&As, so I've got no shame in filming another one. My watch later playlist is filled with all of the videos, the very worthy, long, academic video essays I think I should watch. But then my history of what I actually watch is a lot of Q&As, some unexpected edible cake videos, and court trials that I really shouldn't be watching because it's none of my business. So today we're going to do a Q&A. You lot sent me some questions over on Instagram, and we're just gonna have a little chat. So grab a coffee, it's gonna be cozy central. It's also gonna be WTF lighting central because the sun keeps coming in and out. If you were here sitting in front of me, there'd be shadows everywhere, everything would be going crazy. You'd be like, where is Lena? It's too bright. It's just realism, that's what's going on. Okay, so the first question is, have you had COVID yet? I actually have not had COVID yet, and that is not down to me being especially worthy or better than anyone else. I do work from home, and I have moved out of London, and so I don't use public transport at the moment. I just walk everywhere, and I don't have like a massive like circle of friends here, so I guess like there are that's maybe some of it, but I know people that have those circumstances and have got it. I'm just like, my time will come probably. There's lots of wood around here, let's touch some wood. I'm also a bit like nervous about getting it at some point and then not being able to make videos, so I'm trying like a duck with their feet paddling underwater. I'm trying to like make some videos for in case that happens and I can't work for a few weeks. So I completely get the anxiety around it, and I hope if you have COVID at the moment you're feeling okay, because it's a bitch and like half of my friends group have it at the moment, so I understand. Where did you hide the treasure, Norms? I've hidden the treasure in my armpits. It's where all the truth of the universe sits. What's going on? I'm not even awake yet. Down some more coffee, Lena, you can do this. How do you handle the world's expectations of meeting certain life goals at specific ages? So I have a video all about all the goals that I've failed at in my 20s that a lot of people hit that I just genuinely didn't hit. I think there's a lot of expectations. Maybe I've just let the side down so much that I'm used to it now. But I think like society expectation wise, it's something that I've just like started to numb myself to. And also I have to remind myself that one of the women I admire most in this world is Jacqueline Wilson, and her main talent is well, making people feel welcome, but also writing incredible children's books. And she didn't actually start writing, I'm not even saying being published, I'm saying she didn't actually start writing until she was 40 years old. So I basically have another 8 years of pissing around until I have to do something that means anything. And even then you don't have to do anything that means anything anyway, because nothing means anything really, and we're all just on this random experiment of a planet soaring through a black blanket of questions and rocks. I think the stories around people that have like smashed every life goal in their late teens or early 20s is exciting, but I also feel bad for them because like what have they got, like they've peaked early. That's what a boring life to live in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So I'm kind of grateful that some of the stuff that I want to do still hasn't happened yet, because I've got a to-do list, and what is there to love than a to-do list of things that you actually are excited to do? So yeah, I think finding like idols that have succeeded later in life or not succeeded at all but are genuinely happy. I always think about, there's so many people that I like think are held up as successes, and actually they genuinely are very honest in interviews. You don't have to look that hard to find out that they're not that happy. So thought on the Doctor Who announcement, I am so freaking excited. I love him so much. And actually, do you know what, I'll let you come closer. I've never watched a whole Doctor Who episode. So is this my time? Should I watch it? Is it worth it? I will watch this new series probably just out of curiosity, but should I go back and watch others? Let me know in the comments below, because I feel like it's basically illegal to be British and not have watched Doctor Who, but what can I say? I'm living on the wrong side of the law. How do you deal with people asking when you're going to have kids? In this economy, I honestly, I've started just saying stuff like, because I've had it a lot and I've experimented with a range of answers to that question, but mainly I just kind of say I really genuinely strongly believe that kids should be wanted, like really wanted, and I can't make myself want it. So because of my principle, because I care about the idea of parenting so much, I'm not going to participate, because I think it's like a cool, sacred, amazing calling, and not everybody has it. Like, you could also ask me why I'm not a motorbike expert. I just don't, there's no spark there. You shouldn't like experiment with human life by like only being half sure about wanting kids and then like actively having them. Like, if you've got the choice, you shouldn't fuck around with other people's lives like that, you know what I mean? And I am in a very privileged position and I do have the choice for now, so why wouldn't I use that choice? And I also think it's a cool experiment, because I think I'm probably like in a long line of people in my family and generations. If you think about all the women in my family for like hundreds of thousands of years, I'm probably one of the first women to have the choice, to have access to contraception. So why wouldn't I experiment and try something new, because everybody else hasn't been able to, you know? Tell us about your secret bad habit. Am I gonna say this online? I'm gonna say this on the internet. I still pick my nose. I know it's disgusting. I know it's probably really bad for my immune system. I know it's gross. I even did it when I lived in London. I don't intentionally do it. It's like a childhood like comfort thing, and I genuinely think it's gross, and when I see other people do it, I judge them. But me myself, still do it. Can't get out of it. I have stopped biting my nails though, and I didn't even try to stop biting them. I just stopped working in an office and it just miraculously stopped happening. This is a nice self-flagellating one to read out. How are you so cool? Do you think of yourself as cool? And what is coolness to you? I actually kind of picked this question as well because I think the last question is interesting. What is coolness to you? Thank you for thinking I'm cool. I don't feel cool most of the time. In fact, 99% of the time. But then again, if I'm going to define what cool is to me with your more insightful last question, I think cool, when I think of somebody who I think is genuinely cool, I think of people who are very specific people. Like, they have a very specific interest or hobby, and they don't have like a massive amount of like general knowledge about, I mean, like, it's good to have general knowledge about like politics or something like world information, but when it comes to like pop culture and like lots of knowledge about a wide range of TV shows or music or films, like I much prefer people who have a very specific, deep and weird interest in something, even if it's something that I don't care about. I just notice those people really honing in on who they are and like not trying to be good for general consumption, and I think that's really cool. Like Francis Bourgeois, writers who write books that are like very specific and not for everybody, like Sheila Heti. Like I think those people are like cool with a capital C. So maybe I can one day fit my own definition of cool, who can say. And related to that, somebody asked, what am I watching these days? Do you know what? I'm genuinely watching nothing, and it feels great. I started watching the next season of Bridgerton. I got a bit bored. Me and Craig have just been rewatching Friends. I've just realised that TV and films, like I enjoy the specific ones that I know about, but it's not like a genre that I can, like, I can't know everything about every genre, and I really care about books and I'm really deep into that interest, if you haven't noticed. So I'm trying to watch random stuff that enters my path or has a relation to like genuine things I'm interested in, or countries I'm interested in, or topics I'm interested in, but I'm trying not to like get sweaty about trying to keep up with everything that's coming out and what everybody's talking about, because like on a very deep level I don't enjoy it as much as reading my own little weird books and writing. And yeah, I do have a few things that I'd quite like to get around to, but like if I don't, I'm not as bothered as the books that I really want to read, and if I don't get around to them I'm going to be genuinely devastated. So if that also sounds like something you're going through, I free you of the need to keep up with the Netflix Joneses. Like I deeply don't care about knowing everything about everything that's coming out. What is your dream festival lineup? I thought very hard about this and I've made a list. Okay. Lowkey, Kae Tempest, Seth Lakeman, Amanda Palmer, Dodie, Hobo Johnson, T-Rex. I know that most of them are dead, but look, this is my dream, okay? Maisie Peters, 1975, and then in the evening when everybody is really drunk, BELLOWHEAD and then the Streets. I'm not trying to pull you. And then also I'd have a newcomers stage, which would include Brooke Alexx, Peach PRC and Lily Williams, who are artists that I've purely found on Instagram and I love them. Obviously at my festival there would be a book tent, but we don't have time for me to program that whole thing. What's making you furious these days? And somebody also asked me a question about Roe versus Wade, so let's just link those two questions together. Firstly, I need to normalise not knowing what Roe versus Wade is. It's something that is generally just a conversation in the US, and I only learned about what it was last year, and I've learned lots about abortion rights in the UK, and it's not like I'm somebody who's completely unaware or disconnected. I just genuinely think that if you're talking about Roe versus Wade on the internet casually, do give some context, because the rest of the world, like, that's not what the rest of the world has as their touchstone for abortion rights. However, obviously, as I heard somebody say recently, the US gets a cold, Britain sneezes, so obviously it is something that's really concerning, and I'm devastated for the people who live in those states where it's going to come in, because it makes my face and my brain and my heart want to melt into tiny angry pieces. One of the only times that I've really cried at the news was when Ireland passed the law to allow abortions. It's something that I don't know, obviously, is it obvious? It should be obvious. Obviously I feel really strongly about it because I have a freaking womb and I'm invested in that shit. So yeah, obviously it annoys me, and when it happened in Ireland, it obviously, like, I have a Irish passport, I'm like half Irish, if that's what you want to call it. Knowing how important that was for people in Ireland, it just like still makes me want to cry now that actually got passed. I'm trying to write a whole, that's another thing I'm working on at the moment, I'm trying to write a whole video about consuming the news and like keeping it in your head and not letting it like completely affect your soul, but also act on it. And that's one of the things I'm working on, and why I haven't had too much time to make a video for this week. I'm doing a Q&A, but that's coming, and I want to talk more about trying to fit all the stuff that is coming out in the news in your head and how to respond to it. So I do want to go more into it then. I want to say if they take my human rights away, I will riot in the streets, but haven't the UK government been doing that for like the past 10 years? And I've gone to a few protests and written some angry letters to my MP, and like my capacity to riot is apparently not that strong, if I'm being very honest. So it's all very confusing. I'm very angry about it, as I know a lot of people are, and feel free to just like dump your feelings in the comments if you think that would help, and I would happily read them and listen, because we all have messy feelings about it, and it makes my voice shake with anger. So let's move on. What are your thoughts? Oh yeah, just a light one, Lena, move on to a light one. What are your thoughts on human colonization of Mars? I think it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. We can obviously stay on this planet if we spend just a fraction of what these men have, and I think the misunderstanding about Mars is that like it's kind of like oh, we're the coolest thing about planet Earth, so if we move to Mars, like we can build something as cool. And it's like, no, we are not the coolest thing about this planet. Mars has barely anything compared to what this planet does. It's a complete random act of the universe that any plant or animal or us or giraffes even exist, and I think we're throwing away the incredibly small percentage of luck that we have to even have existed on this planet to try and move somewhere else, rather than like stick on the one we're actually evolved to survive on. But hey, I'm just a YouTuber with an English degree, what do I know? And then final question, why is pre-ordering books good? Well, I am glad you asked. Maybe I should make like a reel about this, but just very quickly, top line, 3 reasons, just off the top of my head. Number 1, it helps publishers know how many books to print. The smaller the publisher, the less warehouse space / no warehouse space they are going to have. So pre-ordering shows how many copies you would like to exist in the world, and reduces waste. It helps people estimate print runs. So when they're printing the book, they already know how many people have paid for it, and they can print the right amount, so less get pulped, which is a whole other thing. That's if the publishers are printing responsibly and aren't like one of the big 5 who tend to overprint anyway. But my poetry collection that is coming out on July the 7th is published with a really, really small publishing house, and pre-ordering reduces waste. Full stop, the end. Number 2, if you pre-order the book, you are pre-paying for it, but the official day that it is sold will be on publication date. Does that make sense? All of the actual sales through BookScan, which is how we measure how many books are sold, goes out on the publication date. The chances of a book getting in the charts in any given week means that they have to sell lots of copies within that week. If loads of people pre-order all of those sales go through on publication date, which pushes a book up the charts and gives it that boost so loads of other people see it. If your book is in the charts, 10, 20, 30 times more people are likely to see the book. You're basically helping that author to get free advertising and advocating for that book, being like, I want it. And that's literally one of the ways that books get famous, is because of that first week's thing. That's what it is. And number 3 is a present to your future self. I love like ringing up my local bookshop, ordering it in, and then like a few months later I'll have forgotten, and then they'll be like, your book's here, and I'll be like, ooh, or it'll come through the post and then it'll be like a nice package from like ages ago. I don't remember paying for it, and then it's like this little gift to myself. So that is the answer to your question, and by accident a shameless plug. My birthday is next week, and if you have ever thought, Lena, I like your videos, I would like to thank you with a pint and a piece of pie or a piece of cake, then please give yourself a present instead. Pre-order the collection. It really helps us reduce waste. It helps the book get into more people's hands in that first week and in more people's eyeballs. So if you would like to, it is available to pre-order worldwide, and I'm going to leave all of the links I possibly could ever have and the ISBN below if you would like to do that. I really appreciate you supporting. That would be the best birthday present ever. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm excited for you to see all the stuff that I'm working on in the background with my little feet paddling below the surface. If you like this video, you might like some of these videos. Thank you so much to the Gumption Club for making this whole channel possible and keep happening. Frogs Nog out.